The hand thing, Ed.
No, that's... sorry.
That's alright. So, hello, this is the Mulberry Tree Woodturnery workshop, and my name's Andy Fortune, and this is my friend Ed, who's doing the filming for me. So I'm a professional woodturner on the Isle of Wight, and I'm based at Porchfield, which is on the sort of north-west side of the island, and I've got a workshop here, and I make bowls, platters and hollow forms from locally sourced timber. So the idea of these videos is to go through the process of making a bowl, to give you a basic understanding of how to prepare a piece of wood for the lathe and all the different processes involved. I tend to buy local timber because it's easier to get hold of. I buy it green, which is it means it's freshly cut, and by the time I get to use it, it's usually only partly seasoned. There's advantages and disadvantages in doing that. You can cut freshly cut timber a lot easier than you can something that's very dry and very hard. So it is a lot easier to turn wet wood, but the disadvantage is that it tends to move and twist and change shape and split. So, but there are things you can do to avoid that. And I think that things that actually move and change shape are quite nice. And I've actually found a way now to incorporate the splits and things like that into pieces by lacing them with leather and things, which people seem to like. So this is a batch of beech that's I've got on the island from my local timber yard. I give them a cutting list, and they'll cut a whole tree into slices, various different thicknesses. The thickness of the board will dictate how deep your bowl is. So I've got a 1-inch board, this particular piece, and the idea is that we've got this board cut in 1-inch pieces. And then I'll cut a disc from this side, going sideways through the tree trunk, which will then give me a bowl blank, which is the starting point, and that's the piece that you then attach to the lathe to turn it into a bowl. So this will be more of a platter, really. This is another piece of beech, again with spalting in it. So spalting is a fungus that gets in the wood. It's usually after the tree's been felled and it lays in wet conditions, and it's created by several different funguses that then interact with each other and create all these lovely lines and patterns and beautiful figuring. The only trouble with it is if you leave it too long, it does tend to go a little bit too soft, and it becomes unusable. But you've got to leave it in the right conditions long enough to get this patterning in. And that's when you really then need to dry it, and it will stabilise and not go any further. But it gives you some beautiful figuring in the pieces that you make, and it's just a really nice substance to use. You get it in other timbers as well. There's ash you can get spalting in. This is a piece here that's cut from another section. You can see the lines and patterns in that, which is rather nice. So what I'm going to do initially is this is a 4-inch slab of beech with the spalting in it, and what I'm going to do is look at this and see if there's anything that's going to cause any problems. There's a bit of a split down here, but it's only relatively shallow, so I don't think that's going to cause too many problems. But what I need to do is to look at this and decide where I'm going to take my bowl blank from. So this is a 4-inch thick piece of board, piece of beech, and I'm going to cut a wooden disc around here to then turn into a deep bowl. So I'm just going to draw a circle with my compass, and then that will give me the starting point. So there's a bit of section that is missing here, so I'll try to avoid that, and trying to get a solid piece on this particular section. So what I'm going to do now is to cut this out on the bandsaw. The bandsaw is if you don't know what a bandsaw is, it's a continuous metal belt that then runs around 2 big wheels, one at the top and one at the bottom, and this enables you to cut fairly deep sections of timber This is a fairly coarse blade. One of the things I've found is that there's a bit of a compromise with the thickness of the blade, so you can buy different blades in different configurations. This one is in particular is a 6 TPI, 6 teeth per inch, and it's also a skip tooth. So that means like on a normal saw where you've got the 2 teeth that are set either side, this has also got one that's straight, and the idea of that is that if you're doing the full depth of cut or even something shallower than that, it will drag out the waste material quicker and allow the blade to cut easier. So that works quite well. The other thing as well is that you can get different depths of blade, so you can get deeper ones which are for doing very straight cuts, and you can get much narrower ones which are also for doing sort of jigsaw shapes. The idea of that, if you've got one that's too narrow, for the jigsaw one, it will tend to wander in a very deep cut, so we don't really want that. The other thing is if it's too deep, then it won't go round a tight arc, which is what we're trying to do with this, with the kind of discount. So this is a bit of a compromise, and this is a 3/8 or a 10mm blade, and that seems to cut quite well, and it doesn't wander too much. So, so I'm going to cut this disc out. You can see there I've drawn on a pencil mark around there, so I'm just going to follow that round and cut the disc out. So I'm going to switch the machine on. Safety first, always wear your goggles. So I'm going to put a nice pair of safety goggles on, and I'm also going to put on some earmuffs because it is a bit squealy, and then I'll just cut this disc out. So there we go. So I've cut that round. It's quite a quick process with this machine. It's this is a new one that I've recently got by Record Power, the Sabre 350, and it's a brilliant machine. It really does work very well. It's ideal for doing these very deep cuts. So I've cut that round, and then I can now lift off the waste, and this is our starting point. So we've got some nice spalting figuring in there, which is rather nice, and that's our starting point. So it's the same with any timber. We're really got various different bits here. This is the thin one I was showing you earlier. Again, we can cut a disc there, and we can make a platter out of that. But it's just having a look and seeing where the best place is to take that from, and see if there's any defects or anything, or if there's any sort of interesting figuring that you want to actually incorporate in the piece that you're making. So it's worth having a look at the piece before you draw on your circle, and that's the starting point.